The Miami Heat have stolen game 2, 111-105 against the Celtics to go up 2-0, going back to Miami. I can't believe it. I'm sure no one here can believe it. Let's just get straight into it. TJ, we brought you back on the channel once again. I'm just going to give you the floor. What's your reaction to this game?
It is with great sadness that I have to admit that my boy Jaylen Brown is officially one of, if not the most overrated player in the NBA. Jaylen Brown will be 27 years old this year. He's been in the league since 2016. He cannot pass. He cannot make reads. He cannot create his own shot. He still has lapses off the ball defensively. I'm not saying this guy's a bum, but this is a guy that we might have to commit $250 million to this year. And this guy's a sidekick, man. At best, he's a number 2. I see people saying he's better than Jason Tatum. There's just no way.
G?
Oh, I didn't think it was gonna be my turn. So what do I have to think about this game? Well, the Miami Heat aren't playing games. They take this serious. They see 12%, only a 12% chance. It went from 3 to 12. I said, okay, watch this. And there were spurts through this game where I thought, well, I think the Celtics just have this one. And because they blew up to a good little lead, the Heat cut it back down. They went into the halftime, I believe, a 5-point lead, 4-point lead, and then the Celtics go back up 8, and then they go into the fourth quarter and they get up to 11. I mean, I'm like, double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. I don't really know if they can come back from this, but then it happened. The moment that every Celtics fan will be remembering for a while, the infamous. Hold on, I want to make sure. Grant Williams, thank you, my brother. Thank you, because he poked the bear. He woke up something inside Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy wasn't playing bad, but he wasn't really as active as, he wasn't as locked in as he normally is. And that woke him up because, it's a good shot. I mean, Grant Williams gets open, hits a 3. And you're like, okay, that's normal. And then he starts barking at Jimmy. You're like, what? And Jimmy's just like, what are you saying? And then soon as Jimmy gets the ball, he goes in and he says, this barbecue chicken. Gets an and one, and then they're talking. And I was sitting next to Zach. We looked at each other and said, oh, no, it's over. That moment, we knew it was over, that there was no shot, because there's something you cannot do in this league. And that is, if you're not the best player, you can't talk to the other team's best player in any type of scenario. There's no talking. You don't speak to them. Especially if you're Grant Williams. You're not talking to Jimmy Butler. Because Zach made this point. I'm going to be quoting Zach basically. If it was Jason Tatum, that's okay. You live with that because Jason Tatum is a very good player. But you're Grant fucking Williams, bro. You didn't even play game 1. You didn't play a dribble in game 1. And you're here talking to Jimmy Butler. Like, what do you think was going to happen? Look, if I'm the Celtics owner and I saw that, I take his contract. I call him into my office. I said, okay, time to sit down. This is your contract. I rip it in front of him and send him to Taiwan because he cost them the game. That was the turning point. The Heat went on a 20-9 run after Grant Williams made that 3 and talked to Jimmy. That cost them the game. That's how big of a moment that was. And it was, I thought it to be improbable because the Celtics blew multiple double-digit leads, and that it's just something you can't do. I mean, Jason Tatum, another fourth quarter where he did a lot other than score the ball. At a certain point, you are the best player. I mean, you emulate your game after Kobe Bryant, and you don't take enough shots in the fourth quarter. You're the best player. Stop giving the ball up to these other guys. Look, he's doing the kind of the LeBron play, make the right basketball play. At a certain point, when there's games like this where it's a must win, you're at home, you're about to drop 2 games at home, you have to say, fuck that. Give me the ball, and I'm going to get to the free throw line, or I'm just going to make a tough shot. And that's what he didn't do. He did a lot of other great things, but I think what separates the good players from the all-time great ones, and right now Jimmy Butler is looking like an all-time great playoff performer. I'm not saying he's an all-time great player, but in the playoffs, if you just look at it, forget the regular season, because he basically just acts like it doesn't exist. This guy is just unbelievable. And I think me and Zach are almost right. He's the closest thing I've seen to Kobe Bryant in the playoffs, because there's not a guy that just has this switch, who has this screw loose in his head, that he just takes everything so he loves the trash talk. It elevates his game. And look, I think this is gonna end. I thought I had this going 7, but this could be over at 4.
Look, this series is officially over. OVER, over. I said this was a must win for the Celtics. You cannot drop 2 games at home to this Heat team. Now we go back to Miami. They're down 2-0. Even if they split in Miami, which might not happen the way that this series is going, they might get swept here. Even if they split in Miami, they're down 3-1. Are the Celtics really going to win 3 in a row against this Heat team? Is Jimmy Butler and this Heat team going to lose 3 in a row to this Celtics team? I don't see it happening. This Celtics team lacks the killer instinct. They do not have that dog in them. They will not come back from a 3-1 against this against this Heat team. I mean, it's not happening. This series is over. This was the game they had to win. And for large portions of this game, it looked like they were going to win this game. They had multiple double-digit leads. It looked like they were going to slam the door shut on this Heat team. Kyle Lowry didn't have a good game. Kevin Love was basically a no-show. Caleb Martin showed up. Some of the Heat role players did show up, but for a large portion of this game, Jimmy Butler was not. It was good, but he wasn't great. He wasn't like he was in Game 1. Mm-hmm. And then like G said, Grant Williams committed the cardinal sin. He poked the bear. He woke up Jimmy Butler, and from that moment, I knew it was over. Grant Williams, you are not that guy. You have no reason to be talking to Jimmy Butler in the way that he did. And look, if I'm the Celtics owner, like G said, I'm getting him off the team immediately. I think Grant Williams is a good player, but you have no right to be talking to Jimmy Butler in that way. Dwight Howard is calling him right now and getting him on the Taiwan super team. That is where Grant Williams is going after this series because he cost the Celtics this game. Now, look, does Tatum deserve some blame for not really shooting enough in the fourth quarter? Yes. Does Jaylen Brown deserve a lot of blame? Yes. Does Joe Mazzulla deserve a lot of blame? Yes. But in my mind, this game was lost because of Grant Williams poking the bear. Because this Heat team looked down and out. And then Grant Williams woke up this Heat team. And this is a team, you do not want to give them an extra edge. They play with a big chip on their shoulder as it is. This is a team that lives for this mentality, the Heat culture. It's a real thing. People doubt it. It's a real thing. I said it last video, and I'm saying it again. It is a real thing. And the Celtics gave them an extra edge. And that's something you can't do. So, like I said in game 1, the Heat, in my opinion, they have the best player on the floor in Jimmy Butler, and they have the way better coach. This series is over. The Celtics cannot come back from 0-2 against this Heat team. They will not win both games in Miami. At the very best, they're splitting, and they will not win 3 in a row against this Heat team. It's not happening. Congratulations, Miami. You have made the NBA Finals, in my opinion.
I mean, it's a bit unbelievable. I did want to ask TJ. So if TJ, if the Celtics do end up losing the series, no matter how it is, if it's in 4, if it's in 5, or it's in 7, whoever, so what would you, if you were the owner of the Celtics, what do you do? Do you trade Brown for the Portland's pick, or what are you thinking here?
So before the season, I would have been interested. I know some people weren't. Some people didn't want to break the team up, but I would have been interested in including Jaylen in a Kevin Durant package. Obviously, I saw that. That was a rumor for the season. I think that gives you the best 1-2 punch in the NBA between Tatum and Kevin Durant. How do you stop that? It's 2 6'10" elite scorers that can score at all 3 levels, make plays for teammates. And let's face it, Jaylen Brown does not give you. I mean, who are we kidding? Jaylen Brown does not give us the same value that
he's a very streaky player. Like,
of course,
when he's all time, when he's hitting shots, he's like, my God, this guy's unstoppable. But tonight, he just he has that mentality of like what other great players try to emulate. It's like if your shots aren't going down, keep shooting them. Doesn't matter. And obviously, that could be a detriment to your team because if you're not, like these upper echelon players that have that mentality, like Kobe Bryant, or, at certain points, even Jason Tatum has that mindset. You keep jacking them up because eventually they're going to start going down.
We saw that in the 76ers series.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown, though, he can't do that because he's just
Jalen's bad games are bad. Jaylen was minus 24 tonight in a close game. I mean, I think obviously single game plus minus can be misleading, but when you look at the box score, I mean, it kind of tells the story of this game. And you kind of go back to some of the decisions by Mazzulla, which I know we've talked about. Grant Williams, I thought Grant Williams not playing at all in game one was a mistake. So you go from Grant Williams not playing at all to in game two, closing down the stretch and guarding the best player in the
Played
playoffs the
25
past 2
minutes.
years. It just doesn't make sense. Like, what do the role players expect when their role changes so much from one game to another? Missoula just never puts players in position to succeed. And I think Derek White did the best job of any player on Jimmy Butler today. I think he had a couple blocks early, and like Jimmy Butler didn't
Couple good steals.
start the game like Jimmy Butler. He didn't look like one of the best player in the playoffs. But down the stretch, when you give him an edge against a player like Grant Williams, who, shit talking or not, he should never be guarding Jimmy Butler. That's what happens, man. It's like this. It's just so predictable. It's so predictable.
I mean, where was Derek White down the stretch? Because in the first half, Derek White was
an
playing really good.
all-defense player. He's
Where was he?
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
He didn't play. Yeah, that's another blame you put on Joe Mazzulla, because I mean I thought Robert Williams III should have been playing more.
He was
because
you gotta close with Robert Williams. Al Horford is getting punked by Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, one of the
rebounding. Like, I don't even know, man.
Because one of the key buckets that Bam got at the end of the game that put it up to 4 was just a rebound putback. And it's one of those things, if Robert Williams was there, you'd think Bam wouldn't get that easy, because it just came right to him and he said, okay, just put it up and back in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at that and you're like, well, Derek White. Oh, no, freaking Derek White. I'm butchering his name. No. Derek White. I don't know why I got his name wrong. Derek White should have been playing more. He's doing a pretty decent job on Jimmy Butler. But, I mean, the only criticism I could give the Heat is that Bam played well, but I think Bam could have had the opportunity to play more, like a little bit more aggressive. Because look, the problem I had throughout this game was Bam found himself a lot with Al Horford guarding him. Bam, Al Horford's like 50. He cannot deal with you. Look, if Al Horford isn't in early foul trouble when he's guarding Bam, then you're doing something wrong, because there's literally nothing he can do to deal with Bam. But Bam kind of has these, instead of driving in, he kind of goes for these weird little these jump hook shots, jump shots. And it's like, that's the only thing I have a problem. Bam played well. I mean, I think he had a double-double, another double-double. He played well. But I think he's missing that part of his game to where it's like, Bam, just attack Al Horford, man. He's washed. Yeah. Well, he can't even go to Taiwan because they don't want him. You got to eat.
I saw multiple times, like instances throughout the game where it was basically looked like one-on-one Al Horford versus Bam. I mean, everyone was spreading out, and it was Al Horford, Bam one-on-one. And there were instances where Bam just blows right by Al Horford and takes it to the rack like he should. And then there's instances in which Bam doesn't play aggressive enough, and he takes those jump hook shots, or he takes the jump shot against Al Horford. And I'm thinking in my head, why don't you just take it to the rack every time? Because after I see him take it to the rack and get an easy bucket, I'm like, why don't do that again? Run the same play. Make Al Horford either foul you or make Joe Mazzulla make a switch. And obviously, we know Joe Mazzulla, sometimes, his rotations are inefficient, not good enough. You never know what he's going to do. Make Joe Mazzulla make that tough call, because obviously, majority of the time, it seems like he's getting them wrong. And I think this is a no-brainer, but obviously, if the Celtics lose this series, Mazzulla has to go, right?
100%. Yeah. And I think back to some of the other sort of kind of coaching failures by our boy Joe Mazzulla. And I think of the amount of one-on-one ball that Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo got to play tonight. Obviously, we talked about Jason Tatum having to deal with doubles and kind of making play. So Eric Spoelstra, he acknowledges that Jason Tatum's the best player on the Boston Celtics, and he forces Tatum to have to kind of defer to other players and let them make
double teams, do a lot.
Instead, Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, he just has to play one-on-one with Grant Williams. That's all he has to do to get a bucket in the clutch.
Yeah. And that's my thing. Like, I know Coach Spo is doing a lot to get the ball out of Jason Tatum's hands, and obviously it's working. But if I'm Jason Tatum, I'm demanding the ball, and I'm going to score. Tatum in the fourth quarter, he did everything except score. I think he mentioned that. And he did everything except score. But it got to a certain point where I'm like, Tatum, you have to take the ball and say, I am going to lead us home. This is a close game at home. Our backs are against the wall. We have to win this game. Give me the rock, and I'm going to take us there. if you think you're the best player on the court, I think it's Jimmy Butler. But if you really think you're the best player on the court, get the rock and take us home. That's what he had to do. He didn't do it. He did everything else. He was passing the ball good. Obviously, he did finally take that shot towards the end or whatever, but it's too little too late. Where was he in the fourth quarter? You did everything except score. 0 field goals was made in the fourth quarter. It's unacceptable for the player that is supposed to be the best player on the court, supposed to be the best player on the Celtics, and you're making 0 shots in the fourth quarter. You can't win like that. And obviously, it's impossible to win when Jaylen Brown has the worst plus minus out of any team. Minus 24. He played worse than Kyle Lowry, who had an abysmal game. And it's one of those things. This is the game to me. It speaks volumes. Jaylen Brown. I think that this, duo Brown and Tatum, it has to be split up after this season. If this goes the way I think it's going to go, they have had too many runs now and too many failures to, give them another opportunity. I know Joe Mazzulla is the head coach, and I know we reiterated it last video that he doesn't deserve this opportunity, but this is the deepest team in the NBA. You can make the argument. This Celtics team has gotten better since last season, and they're going to do worse. And they're playing, look, at the end of the day, they're playing a team that lost in the play-in. They lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in. So this Heat team in the regular season, say what you want. Jimmy Butler doesn't really care about the regular season, this and that. This is an 8 seed. The Celtics had to win this series. You are down 2-0 to an 8 seed. It's unacceptable. Something has to change. Drastic changes have to be made. And that, I think that's coach. I think, trades, big things have to happen in Boston. And it's unacceptable.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, man. And I think if they do lose a series, they do have to experiment with trades. And you saw Dame, I think, tweet out earlier today that if the fans want me traded, do that. I think that would be, not definitely a like for like, but I mean, Tatum and Dame, that wouldn't be too bad to try that out just to give it a shot, because at the end of the day, there's not a lot of players out there that are available. I mean, there isn't any crazy free agents hitting the market here. So you're going to have to make something happen. You're going to have to make a trade happen. And there's not a lot of people that are available, but we'll have to see Game 3. I think the Heat should be going to Game 3. As much as I want to say it is 100% over, I think you just have to put, stomp this flame out 100%. And the Heat have to go into Game 3 at home as a must win. This is their Game 7 because they're not going to look. You can say they're not coming back from 2-0. They're definitely, it's 100% because no one's ever come back from 3-0. So that's just, if you're going to split these games, let Game 4 be the one you split. Win Game 3. That's all that matters now. And I'm sure that's what the Heat players. I don't have to tell them this. I'm supposed telling them. Pat's telling them that Game 3 is where we end this. We already booked our tickets. We're in the final. Just win Game 3.
TJ, if you had to put a percentage on it, you're obviously down 2-0. What percentage chance are you giving the Celtics to still win this series?
I'm giving the Boston Celtics a fittingly 7% chance to win this series in honor of Jaylen Brown's kind of disaster class tonight. I'm just not optimistic at all, man. Like this was just obviously, I mean, it's the NBA playoffs. Every game's a must win. This was such a must. You cannot drop 2 games at home to a 44-win Miami Heat team. It's just inexcusable. I mean, let's face it. The Boston Celtics have a better roster than the Miami Heat. The roster is better overall. And how about I'm sure he's getting a lot of love on social media right now, but Eric Spoelstra, man, this is a guy that doesn't have an NBA Coach of the Year award. You talk about coaches like Dwayne Casey, Mike Budenholzer, who have been revered by the media and given multiple head coaching honors. This is a guy who's just gone above and beyond. Like, I know it's the playoffs. You're giving out the Coach of the Year as a regular season award, but Eric Spoelstra is just incredible.
I think, I completely agree. And I wasn't even going to mention that because, I mean, Spo doesn't really get the same love because a lot of people look at the championship he's won. That's all he had LeBron, though.
Yeah.
But, everybody that knows what it takes to have that type of super team, there's a lot of ego management. There's a lot of still, even when you have that good of a team, doesn't always guarantee wins. Ask the Nets, ask the Suns. About how easy it is. It's not easy.
Ask that 2011 Heat team. If it's
easy,
you know what I mean?
It's not.
We're finished post LeBron, and I mean, it looks like another finals appearance.
Yeah, because you look at it. I mean, even when Jimmy Butler went to the Heat, everybody in the media said, "Oh, Jimmy's just taking a pay. He's just taking the money. He's kind of doesn't care about winning no more." and they were able to build a team around Jimmy and with a good development by Bam. I mean, what is it? 5 undrafted players. Gabe Vincent looks like a point guard that could win a championship. I mean, this guy makes these clutch plays. He's as clutch as it gets. The Heat, in general, right now, are the clutchest team in basketball. I mean, this is just that is Heat culture. If you want to know what Heat culture is, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Just be able to defy the odds. They get players from the rough that no one wanted. These are undrafted guys, and they make them something. So I think that's always something I'm going to give credit.
Position to succeed. Joe Mazzulla puts his players in positions to sell.
And I'll take this time right here. Obviously, Coach Spo deserves all the love he's getting. This Heat team deserves all the love he's getting. But how about a little bit of love for Pat Riley for assembling this roster, assembling these guys, finding these guys? Obviously, he gets a lot of love, and he deserves it because 5 undrafted guys. Obviously, Spo does a lot for this team, puts him in positions to exceed. But Pat Riley is probably the best guy in the front office to have in basketball. The Heat are blessed to have him.
Pat Riley is the culture. I mean, there's no Pat, there is no culture. Yeah. I mean, Pat Riley is easily a top 3 is a top 3 coach of all time, and he brought that. He led the Showtime Lakers. He was a big part of that, and he knows what it takes to win, and he really, really wants to win post LeBron. That's something that he really wants this entire organization, but obviously not gonna already crown them the champions because there's a mile high team that has to be probably overcome in the finals. But obviously this is a best of 4. Like LeBron said, this is not an NCAA tournament. You have to get it done, but it's home court. I'm feeling good. So,
Yeah. Well, I guess any final words, points that either of y'all two want to make, about anything?
Not me.
I guess one thing, the Celtics started better today. Like the defense, I don't know, man. I'm trying to take any sort of optimism, and I just can't really get much.
They did very good in the high pick and roll. I mean, they were cooking with
that.
But
now Spo was going to adjust to that,
right?
Yeah.
And what adjustments is Mazzulla really going to make?
He cannot adjust within I don't know, man. Like all he can do is say, "Oh, this is what happened 2 days ago. I'm going to make a lineup change." No, bro, you need to adjust within a game. There's timeouts. There's stoppages of play. You can call a play. Does Joe Mazzulla know that he can call a play?
Give him credit. He did call a timeout today.
Yeah,
he called one.
I honestly, I got every
when
time
he called a timeout, we raised
laughing.
our hands and I was like, brilliant. Yes.
Now, this is obviously looking way ahead, and we're gonna have plenty of time to have this conversation. Eventually, if the Celtics end up going to Cancun in a couple of days here, but if you're the Celtics, you fired Joe Mazzulla after this disastrous Eastern Conference Finals. Early look at it. Who would you like as your head coach potentially for next season?
That's a good question. I mean, Kenny Atkinson, obviously he's an assistant with the Golden State Warriors. He's a guy that had some success. I would look for someone that overachieves, someone that elevates their team. Eric Spoelstra is a guy who elevates their team. Joe Mazzulla is a guy who takes players and makes them worse. So Kenny Atkinson, he did have some success with the Nets, a far less talented Nets team than the one we've seen with that was the Nets team with D'Angelo Russell and just kind of role players around him that actually managed to have some success. So I would take like a more overachieving coach like Kenny Atkinson, for example.
Interesting. I think obviously there's going to be a lot of time to have that discussion. Obviously it's early. There might be some guys who become available that you're not expecting, but I think it is a conversation that should already start to be had because like I said, I think the series is over, and obviously that means it's the end of Joe Mazzulla. He never deserved to have this job in the first place, and I think it's going to be a one and done for him, and deservedly so.
He was the next man up, bro. Come on.
Look, Taiwan needs a super team head coach, and I think Joe Mazzulla is on his way there after this series.
They need him.
And he can bring Grant Williams with him.
Super team.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a good team.
It is.
But
maybe they can lose in the Taiwanese finals.
That's what I said that.
LeBron might be joining them.
I mean, that's what I said.
But I think obviously we have to let us know in the comments down below what y'all thought of this game. Is the series over? Like I think, do you give the Celtics any chance of coming back? Let us know in the comments your percentage chance of the Celtics coming back. I'm pretty much giving it a big fat 0, but let us know in the comments down below. But yeah, I think without further ado, I guess we can wrap this video up.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
So I'm Zach.
I'm G.
TJ.
And we'll see y'all next time for another video. Peace.